The second statement we will hear today is resolved. There should be a cap placed on the total amount of candidate fundraising. Debaters, you may begin.
To answer the question, should there be a cap placed on the total amount of candidate fundraising? My personal answer is absolutely. After this previous primary elections, there has been an absolutely excessive amount spent by the candidates on their elections, and not only they have this money is because they've been able to fundraise without having any restrictions. There are some sort of campaign finance restrictions, which include the amount that an individual can contribute to a campaign. However, there is a new type of elections going on at this point, which has included the new media factor of websites. This has been a great benefit to both the Obama and Clinton campaign. Specifically, the amount total that they have fundraised at this point in time for Obama is $2,240,175,067. And he actually raised over $100 million within the past 3 months. Now, Clinton is actually fairly close to that, but about $50 million behind, which is an interesting thing to now consider that could be counted as close. She is at $194,807,440. Now, specifically, since this is such a close primary, it is understandable that the candidates would like to spend this money and fundraise as much as possible. But we have to come to a point and ask ourselves, when is this too much? It is becoming excessive and just absolutely ridiculous. And I personally believe that there should be a cap put on the amount that a candidate can fundraise.
I will be presenting the case that no spending cap should exist on elections. A spending cap on an election would be a set amount that each campaign may spend over an election without going over. This is a poor idea for many reasons. First and foremost, it goes against the fundamental basics of the United States democratic system that has allowed us to flourish for over 200 years. Capping the amount a person may spend on an election would serve to silence individual citizens who would become locked out of donating to their desired candidate. Additionally, any attempt to enforce a spending cap on elections would have major enforcement issues. For example, if a campaign reaches its maximum spending cap at any time, then you would see it fund itself through other sources such as 527 groups, which, as we know, are not regulated by the Federal Election Commission and therefore do not have contribution limits that campaigns and political action committees must adhere to. Also, the ability of a candidate to raise a lot of money to get their message out acts as an effective means to the end of raising a critical voice. This has been shown clearly in the 2008 Republican primary with the candidate Ron Paul. Congressman Paul had a message that resonated with a lot of people, but was given very little attention by the media. In fact, he was often given very little time during debates as well. According to MSNBC, Paul was given only 6 minutes and change during the January 24th Republican primary debate, while all other candidates were given at least 12 minutes to speak at the very minimum. So each candidate got at the very least double what he got. And due to biases such as these, other avenues must exist to get a message out. These other avenues are created by raising large sums of capital, and any such restriction on this would help silence the critical voice that is essential in a healthy democracy. Lastly, the amount of money that is raised for elections is indicative of the amount of attention given to the election. The more money that is raised, the more the election is put out to the general public. This, in turn, increases voter awareness and helps America move toward an era of less apathy and increased democratic participation.
I do agree that it has something to do with the fact that it is about the candidate's ability to fundraise. That is completely understandable, and it's almost very respectable for the candidates to be able to raise that much money. However, the The reason why I do believe that there should be a cap is because then it would be across the board. It would apply to all of the candidates, and it would be just as fair to all of the candidates, because they would not be able to spend over a certain amount or raise over a certain amount. As far as then the possibility of the money going towards the other types of organizations, that would be also something that would have to be addressed, considering that then if it would be kind of a loophole. So it's like to actually amend that process too, so we are not wastefully spending millions of dollars on just primary elections, rather than we haven't even gotten to the general election yet. So that's something that can also be counted as a concern for the Democrats' chances within the general elections, is because they've already overspent the majority of their funds. So I still do believe that there should be a cap on the total amount for candidate fundraising.
Well, my opponent brings up very good points. The fundamental disagreement we have is that she feels that the millions and millions of dollars that have been spent on this election cycle have been wasted, at least to a certain extent. My belief is that not one single dollar that was spent on this election was actually wasted, because each of those dollars did help promote democracy, did help promote voter participation, and help end the problem of apathy that has plagued our nation for the past decades and possibly centuries. It is my belief that America is based upon freedoms, and this will just be another case of us restricting those freedoms. This is a bad idea. We need to promote freedoms, we need to promote democracy, and we need to make sure that all avenues are available to help create, and to not only create, but to maintain a healthy, working, democratic system that promotes the American way of life. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into our debate today. We hope you have learned some important information on the issues of physical image of candidates, as well as issues regarding fundraising. By hearing both sides of these arguments, we hope you take these issues into consideration when choosing the candidate you wish to support.